Hello, Brother Sewing and Crafting family. Angela Wolf here, Brother Brand Ambassador. Happy Thursday. All because of all of you, all your special requests. We are live on Tuesdays and Thursdays now, so super excited to see you. We are streaming live on Brother Sewing and Crafting. No, actually Sewing, Facebook and YouTube page today. And I have a lot of tea. I don't know if it's the weather, but I got a little raspy voice, but you don't worry about that because we have a fabulous ambassador today. I was going to say friend, but she is a friend too, and ambassador. She has, do you remember when we did this a while back, a quilt along? Always called a sew along, but a quilt along is more fun. Wait till you see what Wendy Chow has in store for you today. Wendy, how are you?
Hello, I'm very well. How you doing?
I'm so excited for this quilt along. It's gorgeous. I see people in here already were saying, I can't wait for the quilt along. Yes, this is going to be fun. When did we do this last? Maybe 2 years ago?
No, we did this last. Actually, maybe you're right. No, can't be. I don't know. Time is going by so quickly. We're already in March. It is National Quilting Month, which is why we're doing a quilt along. I'm really excited about it. And this year's quilt along, um, we're going to be working on a beautiful project. You could probably kind of have this little sneak peek. Oops, going the wrong
Look,
way. Whoopsie daisies, the opposite direction. But you could probably see in the background this really beautiful throw size quilt. It's block based. I'm going to stretch it out a little bit just so you can get a better view of it. And maybe I'll scooch it over this way, just a
it's
wee bit.
beautiful. Oh
But
my
yes, it's
goodness.
a throw size quilt. I'll put my head back in. It's a throw size quilt, and we'll be making three different blocks. So this is block, starting from the bottom, this block A, B, and C. And we'll be working on this quilt across 6 weeks. So the first week, which is that's the week that we're on now, we'll be cutting the fabrics. And then week 2 will be sewing block A, and then week 3 will be sewing block B, and then C in the following week. And then in each of those weeks where we'll be making the quilt blocks, sorry, I'll just bob my head back down. We'll be making 3 of them, but in 3 different colors. You can see the little bit of pop of color. Sorry again. So there's a
It's
pop of pink,
beautiful.
orange, green, but you know what? You can make it in any color that you would like. So there are quite a few color inspirations on the Brother Soap's website with all the information about the schedule that I just talked about. Oh, and I forgot to mention, and then in week 5, we'll be making the sashing, which is these like long rectangular strips that kind of frame the blocks, and then you have little cornerstones, which are these little pops of color that intersect between each of those sashing strips, and then we have the borders. And then come week 6, we'll be putting the quilt layers together, and then so we'll be basting, quilting, and then binding to wrap up the raw edges of the quilt. So that's the 6-week quilt along. Angela, if you don't mind popping in the link about just more information about the upcoming quilt along. We're in week 1 now, but it's not too late to join now. There's still plenty of time. So this week we're working on officially working on cutting the fabric. And it's a free pattern, which is always great. It's I felt like I learned so much from just joining quilt alongs through like just skill building, as well as just meeting other people in the community and networking with them as we're sharing the whole progress. So yeah. Anyway,
So, hey, Wendy, before you start, I see a lot of people rolling in. And what I did is I dropped in that link both on Facebook and YouTube. And even if you're watching this a couple weeks later, still sign up because this is the email link so you'll know about everything. And let me just show them real quick. This is the email list that I just dropped the link in for. Scroll
yeah.
down, put your name and your email address in. You'll find out about everything on here. She will also give you instructions for week 1. These are the colors she was talking about. I absolutely love this. I love this. And I dropped the replays in. There's the pattern. That's so nice. It's free. That's
Yes,
awesome.
it's
Thanks,
free,
Wendy.
which is really nice. It's just a great skill builder, and it's just suitable for all people, like people with all skill levels, whether if you're new to quilting, as well as, you just want to continue to build up on your skills as well, or you just want to create like fun. And also by the end of the 6 weeks, that would take us up to the beginning of April, which is so scary to think about that already. But it will take us to the beginning of April, and you have this beautiful quilt ready to go for some spring decor refresh. So yeah, so
I love it.
that's basically it. So today on this Facebook Live, so as I previously mentioned, we're in week 1 now. We're cutting into the fabrics, but I'm just going to jump slightly ahead, and we're going to be creating the very first block throughout the quilt along for the quilt along. So we're going to be working on week 2's task. So I'm going to show you that block. I made a couple of them in advance, so I'm just going to pick the one from my design wall, or unofficial design wall. But here is the first block that we're going to be making together. It's a combination of just squares and rectangles, but also flying geese, which are these sort of rectangular triangle at the top. So in order to make this these flying geese, we're going to explore the no waste flying geese piecing method, which is the fastest way that you could make flying geese at a time. So we'll be making 4 flying geese at a time. So yeah, we'll explore that method. I'll share some of my tips along the way to create this very first block. So I'm going to pop this back here on my wall, and we'll have a look at the pattern, as well as I'm going to bring up my iPad. So we're looking at my desk right now. So I downloaded the pattern from my website, and again, it's free, which is awesome. We love free stuff. So we're going to be making block A, which I'm going to scroll all the way to page 5. So block A, which is going to be on page 5, all the way to page 6. So those are the 2 pages that we'll be working on today. So for that, I would need and also I have cut up all my fabrics already. Some of them you might not see all the pieces there, because I've actually created the other blocks, as well as for so not all the pieces are shown here because I've stitched them already. So I'm going to start collecting the pieces throughout the pattern as well. You'll see that we'll refer to the squares and rectangles as how it's labeled, like A5, C1, and so on and so forth. So I do encourage you to go all the way to page 18. I'm just going to quickly scroll to page 18 of the pattern, and do print out this page so that you do have fabric labels, and use those as you're cutting out the fabrics. So that's a week 1 task. And then as you're like sewing things together, you would keep the label attached to it, so then you don't get confused and you stay organized throughout the whole entire quilt along. If you don't have a printer, you could always draw like a grid and just on a scrap piece of paper, or you could use a post-it note and then just label it as you go. But anyway, so for this particular block, we are going to use, I'm just scrolling back to page 5, so I'm sorry if you're getting a little bit of motion sickness. So we've got to use A5. So I'm going to find that. So we've got A5 blocks. And I'm going to grab all of those. Make sure that's that. And then we're going to be using, let's see, C1 blocks, which are these ones. Whoops. Oh, goodness. C1, which is behind here.
Hey, Wendy, just move your head just a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit further. There you
Sorry.
go.
Yep. Got it. Thanks for reminding me. I keep forgetting about that. Okay. So we're going to start off with step 1 and 2 here. And we're going to be making the flying geese blocks first. So I'm going to shift these all aside. So I've got my A5 and C1s. Okay. All right. So I will be grabbing. So we're going to start off with marking the wrongs. So these are the A5 squares. So we're going to start off with turning these around so that the right side are touching your work surface. You can kind of just see it, but they've got little cross hatches. So that's how I know that that's the right side. It's going to touch the surface. So I'm going to get my ruler and fabric pen. And I'm going to draw a diagonal line from one corner to the other and mark it. When I do draw this is like a little secret tip, but when I do draw this diagonal line, I kind of just slightly off center it on the towards me. That way, when I do draw the line, it's actually dead straight, like it hits up those corners. You can see that. So if I just slightly had the ruler slightly off, just because the fabric pen is just a little bit thick. So that's just one thing that I normally do. So that's for sure. I get those diagonal guidelines matched up on those corners. So do that. So I've got 2 of them, and I've got to draw another 2 for this particular flying geese. And then these other bits, I'm going to keep that for other parts of the project. So in the pattern, it does say to mark on all 12 of the 12 of the A5 squares, but for this particular, that's because it instructs you to make 3 of these block A blocks, but I've already made 2 of them, so that's why I'm only marking 4 of them. So I'm going to show you a little secret trick of mine. So when it comes to making these flying geese, so as you can see, I just marked these 2 individual squares. I have a quick method that I recently discovered. So what I do is I know that I'm going to pin these 2 squares. Hang on, let me just show you. So I know I'm going to be pinning the 2 squares like this. Hopefully you can see. So I'm going to pin them first, and then I'm going to draw the guideline. So I'm kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone on this one. So you'll see that. So putting the 2 squares like this on each corner, right sides facing each other. And then I got my pins, and I'm going to pin this in place. And then I'm going to draw the line. So instead of drawing 2 separate lines, I'm just going to draw 1 line, 1 long line for these 2 squares. So I've just kind of saved time there. So that's my little secret trick. One of them anyway, as we're going to be stitching block A together. So I'm going to grab my ruler, and then the same thing applies as well. I'm just going to like slightly offset it from the actual corners. So then that takes into consideration the thickness of the pen. So then I can actually really mark get those corners. So yes, so instead of like I showing you at the beginning where I drew a diagonal guideline for 2 individual squares, I've done that in 1 line with 1 line and 1 go. So that's like one of my secret tricks. Anyway,
I love that trick, Wendy. I love that.
Yeah,
it's so easy.
It's a recent discovery. So I'm sharing one of my recent discoveries. Anyway, so now we are ready to move on to let's see, I think we're on to move on to step 3, which is we're going to be sewing a 1/4 inch seam allowance on the left side and the right side of this guideline. I'm just going to move it a little bit closer. So I'm going to be stitching a 1/4 inch seam allowance, left side and then right side. And then we will, so I'm just going to quickly move my camera so you can see my sewing machine. So I can do that.
All right. While she's moving that, drop your questions below. This quilt is going to be so cute. I love that tip, by the way. I love it. Everybody's saying this is going to be so much fun. So if you popped in late, we have some links here so you can sign up for the newsletter, finding out when everything's coming, and then also the links for the free pattern. Yes, it is free, thanks to Wendy, and also to the blog post on Brothers' site. So they're all in that link. Brothers Social dropped it in Facebook. And I will drop it again on the YouTube site because I think they're not on that side. So she's almost ready. I know.
All right.
Is this going to be exciting or what? Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
All right. I've got your back. There you go.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're now at my sewing machine. If you if you don't know, I'm sewing on a BQ 3100, which is part of the Quilt Club series. It's actually one of my favorite machines. This is like my everyday machine, like I use it all the time. But anyway, so one of the great features, and one of the features I love the most, is actually finding that 1/4 inch seam allowance is so easy. You just got to hit this one button. I might just move it slightly this way so you can see my little screen here. But there is a button here that says, right now it's a straight stitch and then put in brackets middle. Hopefully you could see that. But if I hit this button here, it's one of the stitches that's called piecing stitch right, and essentially what it does, it moves the needle position so that it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance. It takes into consideration like a 1/4 inch seam allowance from the right edge of the presser foot. So right now, as I previously mentioned, we're going to be stitching a 1/4 inch from this guideline that we just drew. So let's get on to there. I'm going to move my camera a little bit closer just so you can see. There we go. I'm going to lower my needle and press the foot and get ready for the noise.
It's actually super quiet.
Oh, is it? I'm surprised.
So Wendy, for anybody who couldn't see that where you moved your needle, is your needle in the far right position right there?
So let's see, I'll show you right here. So, and when I turn on my machine, it defaults as in the middle position. So maybe the best way to kind of show it to you is where with this, using this guideline here. So I'm going to lower the needle. Maybe I'll move my camera just a little bit so you get a better view. Please don't judge me. I have not cleaned my machine in a little while, but there's a few
Oh, wait,
dust
get
bunnies, so no
closer.
judgment. All right, so I
No,
just moved my camera here.
there we go.
So
Thanks.
right now the needle is in the central position, right? Sorry,
Yep.
my camera work. All right, so now when I press the button, keep an eye out on this needle, all right? And a good indicator is, to look at this, what's it called, marked guide. Anyway, so I'm going to move the needle position. I'm going to hit it now, and there you go. So it just moves slightly. So yeah, just a hit of a button, you have a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which is great. No guesswork and whatnot.
No
Okay.
guesswork. I'll wait till she's got it all set. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Back to you.
All right. And so I'm going to go back and now, so I've just stitched, if I flip it this way, here we go. I just stitched the like a 1/4 inch seam allowance, a seam from the that middle guide. So I'm going to flip it over this way and we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch from here again. So I'm going to lower the needle and stitch away. All right, and I'm just going to cut the shape. All right, so I've stitched 2 1/4 inch seam allowances from the center. And then now what I do is I'm going to get the rotary cutter and then cut down on that guideline that we marked earlier. So I'm going to move this slightly. Angela, you'd be surprised. So my baby's actually sleeping next door. So the sewing machine has not woken him up. So I must make that comment. Going back to the comment, the machine is quiet in that aspect. It has
is
not woken up the baby. Yeah.
I see somebody asking, let's see, Sonia. Yes, I'm going to drop the link here on YouTube for you because I see it's not showing up on YouTube. So let me drop it in there for you for her newsletter, which gives you all the information with all the links.
Yeah, so I'll be sending you like a weekly newsletter throughout the Quilt Along just to give you prompts, weekly prompts so that you stay on top of task. And then also I will redirect you back to Brother Sew's, so the Brother Stitching, the Brothers Stitching social blog. Sorry, I got my like tongue twisted this morning. So, and then on that blog, I will be posting weekly blogs as well. And on there, you may find tips for specifically for this quilt along, but also there's some bonus projects as well. Anyway, so I've just cut these in half, this in half, and now I'm going to press it. So I've got my iron and I'm going to just press this down. I'm just going to set the seams and then I'm just going to press it to the dark side. There's always talk about pressing to the dark side or to the open. I'm indifferent. I kind of prefer the dark side. I used to be press open, but I kind of liked pressing to the dark side now because I don't have to, I could nest the seams and then I don't have to use pins to hold my pieces together. And I could just sort of like feel the seams to figure out where I could stitch next. Anyway, so I've done these two flying geese sets, and now what I'm going to do is bring these squares that we had originally marked before, and then I'm going to pin it, and remember right sides facing each other, so like that. And then you could see the guideline also facing towards you. And what we're going to do is I'm going to pin this and make sure that you've got the guide on the correct orientation as well, because you don't want to be stitching it this way because then that would be wrong. So make sure, and if you forget, you could refer to the pattern. So I'm just going to quickly pin these down. Pins. Oops, just kind of stabbed myself then. No, thank goodness there's no. Oh, I really did stab myself. I do have a little bit of blood. I'm
Oh, you
sorry, guys,
did?
if you do get a little bit lightheaded. I am so sorry.
Oh no, Wendy. All I was thinking was my pins are so sharp when that happens, it bleeds forever.
Oh no, you have not had a rotary cutter accident then, because that is way
Oh
worse.
no. No,
That
I
is
have
way
not.
worse. That bleeds forever and do not advise. So always look before you cut. So I've got these pinned together. And what we're gonna be doing is basically the same thing as what we did before, and we'll be stitching a 1/4 inch seam on the left side and the right side of the marked guide. All right, so I'm going to move my sewing machine back closer to me. I know that I have already set it at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so I'm not going to, I'm all good, but if you're ever worried, just always double check your machine. So anyway, I'm going to lower the needle. Okay, no more accidents today, okay? All right, here we go. And then I'm gonna stitch this. And with what I'm doing here is just chain piecing. So instead of actually like stopping, starting to like cut the thread here, it's just a lot faster to chain piece and then remove the sort of this, let's call it the thread in between when you're done stitching. So I'm just gonna cut this. And with chain piecing, you do save more thread because you're not like stopping and then pulling the project from the machine and wasting a bunch of thread, but also it's just faster. So I'm just going to stitch the other side of this and on the second one as well. And then I got the scissor button. And then I'm going to remove that bit. So I've just stitched 1/4 inch from that middle marked guide. And then we're going to do the same thing again. And we're just going to use the rotary cutter and then cut on that guide. And then this is where you begin to really see the magic of no waste flying geese or 4 flying geese at a time. Method. So it's super fast to create these flying geese. So I'm just gonna cut that. And as well. This is one of my favorite piecing methods because it's just so fast. I like a speedy, any way to speed up the whole process. So now, oops, make sure that that's back in there. So now I'm just going to press the seam here. And there you go. You've got your first flying geese. So that's flying geese number 1. And I'm going to press this again to make flying geese number 2. And then this way around, we are making flying geese number 3. And then flying geese number 4.
This
So
one
this
always
is
me, Wendy. I always look at this. I have to tell you, when I watch you do this, I'm watching that little triangle going, how do you get something in that triangle with mathematically? And you make it look so simple. It's all coming.
I know it's coming together so quickly, and it's crazy, right? Because we started off with one big square and then 4 little squares. So now I'm just going to grab a pair of scissors and I'm going to remove those dog ears, and then we can continue on with stitching the rest of the block. So how am I doing for time? Okay, we're good for time. Okay,
Oh,
cool.
you're doing great. And then we even have time for some questions here. So before you go any further, I do see that Lorraine, you said it says the schedule starts on the 3rd. It's the week of the 3rd, which is this week. So she's talking about the whole week. This is the first live for it. So you're all good. You're all good, Lorraine.
Yeah. And I'm jumping a week ahead. So you'll be seeing me quite a lot over the next 4 weeks. So the Facebook Lives, there are 4 episodes of them. This is the first one. So I'm just jumping 1 week ahead. So whatever I'm doing right now, this is week 2's task. This is right now, we're week of the 3rd. So we're just cutting up the fabrics. So don't panic yet. And also, like, if you're watching this at a later date as well, you could always join at a later time. You could go at your own pace. So that's the one nice thing about this. Sorry, I kind of jumped ahead. Angela, were there any other questions so far?
Well, there are a couple. Darlene, this is Wendy Chow. I just put her name back up for you. Caroline is there a formula to know? She says, is there a formula to know how big the pieces need to be for the flying geese so they match up correctly?
So the cutting directions, you don't need to do the math because I've done the math for you already. So the cutting directions will tell you how big you should cut the squares and rectangles so that it will fit exactly together. All the pieces come together for a block, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Perfect.
Yeah. So I've done all the mathing for you. So that's why we have a quilt pattern, and yeah, all the cutting directions will make sure that everything will come together. So you don't need the math.
Also, someone said, where is this stitch? So I'll bring this up real quick for you guys. You wanted to see where is the stitch. I'll bring it up before we're done. I think it's Q2 on the Luminaire and the Stellaire. So you guys, they were asking, which one is that?
Well, it's that okay. Yeah,
and
if you want the specific name of the stitch, it's called piecing stitch, and then in brackets, right? There's 3 options when you hit. There's 3 of them. On my BQ3 100 on the Quilt Club series, it's 1-29, and then the other 2 options is like 1-30, which is piecing stitch middle, and then there's like 1-31 piecing stitch, and then in brackets it's left. So essentially what that means, that final option is that it moves the needle position so that it's a 1/4 inch from the left side of the presser foot. So if you want to piece it that way too.
I brought it up, Wendy. Let me just show them what you're talking about. Piecing. That's what she's using.
That is huge. It's so good.
So these are the ones. So this is the one she's using, Q02. And I love to show that because, Wendy, there's so many people that use so many different brother machines. So yours is different than, and somebody was asking about the layer and the Avenir, same thing. So, it's really funny. I never go to the quilting section because I'm not a big quilter, but I do a 1/4 inch all the time. How easy just to go and grab that stitch.
There you go.
Oh my God.
There you go. No more second guessing. Which
No
is
more
great.
second guessing.
Yeah, and it's just done in a second. Anyway, so now looking at the quilt pattern again, so we've done this whole section here on page 5 on flying geese units. We're now going to scroll down to the next page on page 6, and it says that we need to make one of these block A1s. So to do that, we're going to need 4 of the B5 squares, and then 4 of the A6 rectangles, and then 1 of the B3. So let me just quickly grab those. And because I have them all organized, which is not usual, but I have them all organized. So that's wrong set. So A6, I need 4 of these. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to put this back on before I get confused with all these bits and pieces. So I got A6, and now I got to get the B fabrics. Let's see. Here we go. I should have organized this earlier. So I got 1 B3 square. Here we go. That goes away. And then I just need 4 B5s. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got all 4 of them. Yippee! All right, I don't need that anymore because I've used all the B5 squares. Okay, let me just shift this away for now. So we're going to be making block A, block 1A, sorry. So it's just a pretty simple one. All right, so I'm just going to audition these, so just so I get an idea. So I've got the big central square in the middle, and then I've got these rectangles. Okay, and then this. So I'm going to stitch these together. So like this to make one, whoops, sorry, one big square like this. So I'm going to, when I audition this, what I like to then do is, because I know that I'm going to put a stitch here, and a stitch here to put that together. So I do right sides together like this, and right sides together like this, and I'm going to chain piece this. So I'm going to move these aside, get that out of the way, and chain piece these. All right, so I'm going to move my machine back here. I know that it's
Hey,
set
Wendy,
at a 1/4 inch seam allowed. Yes.
there's a quick
Oh,
question.
yeah.
Let me take this out. Sorry. There's a quick question about
Yeah.
chaining. She said, Elsa wants to know when you're chaining, how do you keep the edges from unstitching? Is there anything special?
From the
Or they don't
edges
work on
and
it?
oh, no, it's totally fine. You don't need a reverse stitch or back stitch. And then yeah, like that, I guess in quilting you don't need to do that because everything will kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Actually, that's a good question.
Everything will
But
be in another seam allowance, so it's going to cover it up. So it's just like, I mean,
yeah,
everything that you're sewing, all the edges are going to be in another seam allowance. I think you're fine.
yeah, that's right. And then when you chain piece, it's like one stitch, so one piece of thread that will, and then what you do is when you're done chain piecing, you then cut in between those pieces, if that makes sense. And then that way, it's just a faster way in putting your pieces together. And you don't, there's like less, what's it call it, less wastage in terms of thread because you're not like stopping and then cutting, stopping, like stitching
Right.
and then
It's a
stop and
lot
then cut,
faster.
stitch and cut, stitch and cut. Because if you stitch and cut each time, there's that little bit of like chain left behind, which then that's thread wastage. So if you have it all in the one, it's A, faster, B, because I'm not stopping to cut, and then B, it's just all in the one thread. That makes
I
sense,
love
and
it.
that's the pros of chain piecing. And you can kind of do that with garment making too, because I do that. I don't know if you do that too, Angela,
I
but
do.
yeah.
Yes,
So there you
especially
go.
especially if the end of the seam is going into another seam allowance, you don't need to do the back stitch. You don't get that bulk. So I love your
Yeah.
technique. So easy.
Yeah, you could definitely incorporate some quilting things in garment making as well. All right, so I'm going to quickly stitch this. So again, 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I've match these two pieces together, and then I've got that matched with the right edge of this presser foot. I know my needle position is 1/4 inch, so I'm going to start stitching away. All right, and then I've got this next one, right sides together. I know it's a little tricky to see if the right sides together on my fabric because the prints are very soft. But I guarantee you it's right sides together. All right, this one last one here. All right, so I'm going to cut this. You can see it's chain pieced because it's all stuck together like this, but now I'm going to use the cutter on the left side of this and remove that. So they're all individual pieces now. So right now I could choose to press this, but I like to leave as much pressing as possible in the one go to just save time. So I'm just going to stitch. So right now, if I open this, it's like that. And if I show you relative to the pattern, I've just stitched that top row there, if that makes sense, or part of it anyway. So I've just stitched that part of the block. So yeah, I'm just going to continue stitching so that it's another square goes on this side so that I make up that first row. And then I'm also going to do that with this one. Right sides together on here, like that. And then that will create the second row. And then when I've done them as rows, I'm going to press it in the one go. That way I'll save some time. So instead of like stitching this and then pressing it, then I mean, it's nothing wrong with that, but it just adds a little bit more time. So I'd rather just do all the pressing in the one go. So I'm gonna do that. And then I'm gonna do this other one. This is the bottom row of block A1, and then this is the middle row of block A1. Again, from the raw edge. All right, and then I'm gonna undo. Gonna remove this thread in between like that. So I've got these 3 little bits, and then now I'm going to quickly press those. So I'm going to press this to the dark side. There's no wrong or right way, I always like to say. And if you're not ever sure, you can always try both ways and decide on which one you prefer. So I'm going to quickly press this. All right, and the other one as well. So this is taking shape pretty quickly. We're almost done with this one. So it's got 2 more stitches for block 1A. So we're pretty close. So I'm going to stitch, move this back a little bit so you can see. So I'm going to sew these 3 rows together, the 2 stitches. So flip it that way, and then sew 1/4 inch from there and a 1/4 inch from there. And then how I mentioned earlier, my preference is to press to the dark side so that I can nest the seams. You can kind of feel it. Hopefully you can see it, but like that. So that's my lazy way. But yes, you could also pin it, but by nesting it like that, I could feel like, okay, well, that's where I'm going to, where that piece goes. And I'm going to, it's going to, all the seams are going to line up. So yes, I kind of like to be a bit lazy and not use pins, but you could definitely put it in as well, just to make sure that all the seams match up. And I do the same thing here at the bottom. Yeah, it's the first one. That. All right, and I'm going to do it on the other side as well. Angela, do you sew over pins? Or
No,
no?
I don't. I try not to. That doesn't mean I haven't every once in a while had one.
Yeah.
Misbehave.
I like to live on the wild side, the dangerous side, and either not use pins or sew over pins.
I
It's
don't
one
use
or
a
the
lot of pins
other.
either, though. I tend to not use hardly any pins, so I'm with you. Just so.
Yeah, just sew away. All right, so I've got that. Now I've just got to press this out and then we will continue on. So I've got are there any questions so far?
Everybody's loving it.
Okay, great. Because I was like, the silence is it's very quiet. Like all right, so we've done this first. This is going to be in the middle. And I'm just going to hop back onto the iPad and show you where we are up to. Okay, so we're now going to be creating this next block, which is block A2. So I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to quickly speed through A2, which we will then need. Come on, focus camera. Oh no, the camera's not focusing.
I know they
Hopefully.
always like every once in a while.
Every once in a while. Okay, here we go. Oh no. Well, okay, basically what you need is, and I'll show it to you on the desk. So you need your flying geese that we made earlier. And then we're gonna need, let's see, we need two A7 pieces. But because we're going, so A7, so 2, 4, 6, and 8. I feel like I'm dealing a deck of cards. We're playing game cards. All right, here we go. A7, and then I've got to quickly find my little strip of
Yes, Esther.
A4.
Esther says, "Hey, can I cut this with a scan and cut?" Yes, you can. You'd probably want to use because you don't want a backing on this, so you would need to use the fabric mat and the fabric cutter or the rotary blade, either one, and then you could cut your pieces using the scan and cut. That's a great idea, but just remember that you can't put a backing. So, like the stuff that we put on sometimes for applique, don't do that.
Yeah. Also keep in mind the cutting directions. It is based on width, like a 42-inch width of fabric, which is a very common width of fabric for quilting cotton. So the cutting directions are kind of, you can use the scan and cut, but I would suggest just following what is on the quilt pattern just to make it a little easier. If that makes sense. It's like the instructions are written so that as if you're cutting on a 42-inch width of fabric.
Good
Just as a heads
idea.
up.
Good idea.
Yeah, it's like I just don't want to disappoint you in case, but I have a friend right now. She's working on this pattern and she is piecing block by block. So one of the really nice things about this quilt pattern is I do outline how many squares you need, or like the dimensions of that you need to cut, as well as which block it is for, if that makes sense. So I believe block BA is, for example, for the 6.5-inch squares, which is labeled as A1, that's included in block B and block C. So BB, BC. So I'm referring to the first dot point of fabric A, and so on. So you can kind of like reverse engineer and figure out like how many squares and rectangles you're going to need for each block based on this these instructions. But I do suggest that you do follow the pattern and cut it based on the 42-inch width of fabric. All right, so now my camera is in focus now. So we'll be making this. So we're going to be auditioning this briefly, and I'm going to try and speed through this because I know we've only got like 15 minutes left. So yeah, so let's go ahead with this. So to create the block A2, what you do to get the flying geese, make sure the flying geese is facing the right direction. So I've got the triangle facing me, pointing at me, and then I'm going to stitch this A4 piece together first, and then the A7 side by side. And we're going to repeat this 4 times for the 4 sides of the block. So that. So let me quickly speed through this. I'm going to do some speed sewing. All right, I'm going to bring this back here. Make sure my seam allowance is set properly. Okay, so again, we're going to chain pieces right sides together and put this piece here and stitch away. All right, so that's one. I'm going to stitch this one, two.
Wanda says she loves your method. Seems a lot easier. I'm with you, Wanda. I think so too.
Thanks. Yeah, I try to make it easier for everyone and more enjoyable as well. This quilting should be enjoyable. And I've just got one more. And then I'm going to bring my iron back and quickly press these as well. I think I got that right. All right, so I get my scissors on the machine, and then again chain pieced, and then I'm going to remove the stitch in between, and then move this aside, and then quickly press this. It's so funny because right before we went on this Facebook Live, I was telling Angela that I was still stitching my block samples for this particular Facebook Live. So I'm always speed sewing, and I like to put a little pressure on myself, which is unnecessary. But yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm a bit of a last minute prepper.
Hey, you know
I
what?
like under
Those usually
pressure.
turn out. They always turn out the best. My husband always says if I plan ahead, I always end up changing my mind at the end anyway. So just wait. Just wait.
Just wait. All right, so I've just done the stitch here, and now I'm gonna stitch rectangles on both sides of these. So right sides together, and it will fold out like that, and then same thing, stitch on that side, and then it'll fold out like that. So let me, and what I like to do is when I'm chain piecing, I kind of like to have these sort of ready, set to go. So again, you're setting yourself up to get these done really quickly. Like if you're under a time crunch and you want to speed through it. So then that way I'm not like trying to fidget and then figure like, okay, well, where is that next rectangle that I'm going to stitch down? It's got it sorted. So let's stitch away. All right, here we go. And stitch away. I've got this other next one here. Right sides. Yep, right sides together. And again, stitch away. Right, and do the same thing again. I just love the repetitiveness of quilting. I find it just so therapeutic.
And your machine is so quiet.
Yeah, I know the baby has not made a peep yet, but knock on wood, like I do not want him to be waking up right now. All right, so I've got this chain pieced, and then like I said, I like to leave the pressing all at the one go. So I'm going to stitch this other half, but you know, just to give you an idea, it opens up like that when I press it. So I'm gonna kind of open it up a little bit like that. That way it doesn't get actually stitched down onto the block that we just did, because that's the last thing that we want. All right, and I'm gonna set this aside here. So like I said, I've got all my rectangles auditioned, they're all set to go. All right, right sides together. All right. Do you think I could get this done in 10 minutes? The whole block? I think we can. I know we can do it. Challenge accepted. All right. Well, I made 4 of these blocks this morning. So if I could do that from scratch, well, obviously I cut them before, but I think I can do it in 10 minutes. You know, there should be like some sort of like game or race. I don't know, some game show where who could stitch like the block the fastest, but with the same set of instructions. Like that would be a fun game, I'm just saying.
This is turning out so cute. Hey, Carol wants to know, are you putting your needle down before you start stitching, or are you just stitching?
Yes, so I have my needle down and then I lift the presser foot just slightly and then I move the piece so that it is a 1/4 inch away. Oh, from sorry, I have the raw edge lined up with the right side of the presser foot. That makes sense.
Great.
So I have my needle down already and then zoom. But whatever you prefer, but that is what I am most comfortable with when it comes to chain piecing. And then I remove the thread in between. So it looks like that. So see how I don't have, oops, that darn focus. Here we go. See, when I do chain piecing, I don't have like a huge tail of thread at the end. So that's why I'm saying like when you do chain piecing, you have like less thread wastage.
A lot
So
less.
that's the nice thing. Yeah. And also that means that when you are, what was it? When you're done piecing the quilt top, there's like I have not had to go back and cut loose threads on the back because of that. Because if you, I mean, the general kind of rule, or not the rule, but you know, the general idea is to also remove all the loose threads at the back to reduce the seam bulk and to kind of prevent the seams from showing as well on the once you've done quilting and put everything together. That makes sense. So yeah, it just keeps it more tidy as well. All right, so now I am going to audition this bit. So we're almost done. So it looks like this. Hopefully it's getting so big that it's not, you can't see it. So yeah, here we go. Hopefully you can see this. And then I have to grab a few more squares. I've got 6 minutes. Okay, so I've got 4D2 squares. I think it might be a little bit different because I'm using a different color. So I'm gonna use this. I chose to use this bright green so you can kind of see it pop from the purple. But this goes here, this goes here, this goes here and here. All right, can I do it in 6 minutes? Is it 6
Oh,
minutes?
that's 10. You actually have 8.
I
Well,
have
no,
8
now you're down to
minutes.
6.
Okay.
But
All
don't
right.
worry.
So
The good part, Wendy, is the internet police are not going to kick us off. So you just sew away.
okay, good. Good. But I'm going to be respectful of your time because your time is very precious. So I am going to audition this, edit again, right sides together. And it's very similar to what we did for block A1. So I'm going to do right sides together. I'm going to move these aside so I don't get confused. And I'm going to stitch a 1/4 inch from this, from the raw edge here. So I've got them all auditioned. We're all set to go. Make sure it's easy to get the flying geese direction pointing the wrong way. So always just check, check, check. And you could compare it with the pattern that's on the PDF pattern. All right, so I'm gonna put the needle down. I have a tendency to make mistakes when I'm in a rush. So and then I have to go back and fix it. So that's why I'm talking from experience that you should check. And who knows, I might make a mistake and have to like, remove the seams and do it again after we are hanging out. Who knows? But let's hope that it doesn't happen. So just match the seams up here. Again, I would advise pinning, but in this instance, we've got 10 minutes, maybe less than 10 minutes to stitch this. So I am not going to And I'm also playing a bit of what's it call it? Roulette with the bobbin because I don't have much bobbin thread left too. So yeah. Who likes
That's
a
when,
game of
if
bobbin
you're gonna
roulette?
run Bobbin thread, it will definitely be during a live show for sure, for sure.
I know,
100%.
right? There was one time, I think there was definitely one live that we have done before, and oh my God, the needle kept breaking. Oh no,
Oh, that's
it wasn't the
right.
needle. It was the thread that kept coming undone, which was great because I could show the automatic thread feature on the machine, which works perfectly. But then I think along with that, the needle did break at one point, so that was kind of bad. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, so this is me auditioning it. Make sure that those flying geese are pointing the right direction. So I'm just doing this now. All right, so right sides together. All right, let's quickly stitch this up. All right. Okay. All right, we are getting close. We're getting close. No mess
It looks
ups.
so good.
Bobbin, go, Bobbin.
Wendy,
Oh my
you're gonna
gosh,
have
are we making? Sorry,
you're gonna have everybody like go Bobbin, go Bobbin. Just two
go,
more stitches.
Bobbin. Oh, like, should we be taking bets on this, Bobbin? Like, I should not be encouraging that. No, no, no. No, no, take that back. No, we're not doing that. But I could keep you on your toes and you can find out by the end of this episode whether the bobbin is going to last or not. Cliffhanger. We'll be right after the break. Actually, no,
Yeah.
during the ad break, it'll be the bobbin, like be threading the bobbin. But don't worry. You know what? I have bobbins loaded up, all set to go. So we are good if we do run out of bobbin thread. But I do want to keep you on your toes. And yeah. Anyway, so I've just stitched this. I am so close. I just got to press it, and then we got to do 2 stitches horizontally, and then we are great. And again, remember, make sure those flying geese are pointing the right direction, because the last thing you want to do is you think you did your last stitch, but you messed up.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
that's the worst thing.
Darlene, that is the finished quilt in her background there. It is her right behind her there. Yep, that's the finished one. And
Oh
you can
yeah.
also see it on the blog post. It looks great. Um,
Sorry. I yeah.
he wants to know, do you know off the top of your head, don't stop sewing. But do you
Okay,
know
yeah,
what
I
the one finished block is? Do you know what the size is off the top of your head?
the size. Hang on. I could give you the size. You guys try to all right, here we go. All right. It's 14 and a half inches.
14 and a half inches, D, you got it.
Yeah,
And then
the
while you're
completed quilt. Oh, sorry, yeah. And the completed quilt is 60 inches by 60 inches.
oh, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, so it's a good, nice throw size for
Yeah,
the
that's
couch
great.
or maybe your bed.
So
It's
I don't
lovely.
even know what this is. Star wants to know is this why some quilters use leaders and enders to eliminate the bunch of that thread at the beginning? I don't know what that is.
You could. I You could do that, but generally, yeah, you could do that. I use the leaders and enders so that sometimes, like for like the bulk of the stitches or like the
Mhm.
seam bulk, it kind of gets caught up on the I guess like the feed dogs, and then like your stitches kind of like clump up at the start and then
Oh,
at the end. So that's kind of why I use the leaders and enders. Um, but yeah, I guess that could be a way as well. Yeah, it's just the clumping up that kind of that's when I use them anyway. So yeah. All right. So I'm going to stitch this down. I did check it. I made sure my flying geese are in the right direction. And if they're
No.
wrong, like, it would be so embarrassing. It would be really embarrassing because I said that I checked it, and then if it's wrong, then it's bad. I lied. I didn't check properly. All right, the bobbin is still good, guys. Like, obviously, because this is stitched down. So it's flipped that way. Okay, that's looking good. All right, so I'm gonna make sure audition. All right, my flying geese is the right direction. All right, we're stitching our last stitch. Down and then stitch. So I hope that by you watching me sewing this block, I convince you to maybe start quilting if you haven't quilted before, or I convince you to join this quilt along. It's a
You
lot of
have,
fun.
I already went to your website or to your newsletter link that brother has put in both sides. I've already signed up, so I'm going to get my newsletters too. I'm going to try this. Susie Berry has a good idea. This would look really cool on sleeves. She's going to do it on a jacket. I think this would look really cool on sleeves.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it.
No.
I'm going to try it.
My bobbin. Sorry.
Oh, no.
I mean, I still have the bobbin thread, guys, but it just, no. All right. Well, don't worry. I've got it loaded. I got one more. Trust me. I mean, I have my time on my sewing machine set, I think 2 minutes ahead, so that way it's a warning that I should get off the sewing machine and actually do some housework. I don't know if you guys have the same problem, but I do set it 2 minutes in advance as a warning, like, hey, you gotta do some. Oh no. I think I didn't thread the bobbins properly. I'm rushing. So this is what happens when you rush.
It's only when we rush. We got the idea anyways. I think I love this first tutorial. I love these flying geese. Delia said she's going to sign up. Yeah, don't forget, because she's going to send emails. There's a free pattern. Why not grab a free pattern? I'm pretty excited about that.
Yes. Here's the completed block. Because, you know,
Let me
like,
bring it.
when
Look
we,
at how
there you go.
beautiful. I love that.
So yeah, it kind of looks like a star, but also it kind of has this more of like a floral motif, which really is fitting for the upcoming spring season. But yes, if my bobbin didn't mess up, I would have finished this vlog.
And if I didn't keep interrupting you with questions, you would have been done like a half an hour ago.
Oh,
but
no.
that's the best part. Everyone says that's the best part for live.
The questions are great. I mean, it's like sewing together. Like, I have you guys all sewing with me, which I love. I hope you can kind of see my. But this is the completed quilt.
It's
hopefully
gorgeous.
You can see it. Yes, so it's very springy.
So I'm going to bring up one more time before we go. Let me just bring this up, make sure everybody got it. If I can get the right one, hold tight here. Here you go. This is a big picture of her finished quilt. Look at how gorgeous this is. So this is the link, and we've already dropped them in the chat. I'll drop this one more time. I think the social team has as well. I want to make sure our YouTube friends get this. So this is the email sign up. I'll bring this up. Click on there, sign up. You'll get all the information for everything. You can see here is the actual blog. If you go to Brother, they're stitching social. It's so beautiful, Wendy. I just love it. And she has everything here too. Here's the blocks. Everything's laid out for what week we're doing everything. And the live shows are mix and match each week. Next week, she's coming on a Tuesday. Following week will be a Thursday. So just kind of watch the live show schedule. And then here's the free pattern from the Weekend Quilters. So sign up for the newsletter. That's the easiest way to get notified for everything. And you should be good. Oh, I'm very excited, Wendy. This is going to be so much fun.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. So I think the next time we've mentioned, I'll see you on Tuesday, and then we'll be making block number 2, which is the one in the middle. I just whacked my head with the phone. But yeah, hopefully you can see it. Yeah, this is clearly alive because there's like you get to see all the bloopers as well.
All the bloopers. Everybody's saying, I love it. I love it. I
Yeah.
gotta figure out the colors because I want to sew along with this. And I'm thinking
Yeah.
our boat, I think I'm gonna make one for our boat, and it's a dark navy. So maybe I could do something with like navy and white, something like that. I'm gonna have to play with some colors.
It'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, and then in the brother blog post with all the information, if you keep scrolling down, there's a few other color inspirations as well to kind of like, get you thinking about colors are just a good jumping start off point. Yeah.
Let me check. Let me go. Oh, yes, there's.
Yes.
Oh, I should have looked further. All the way down.
There you go.
Oh, I'm loving the pink and the tangerine and the flamingo. Ooh.
Yeah, so it's very, very springy colors is the vibe that I'm going for. So so if you're stuck on color ideas, you can always check out there. So yeah,
check that out.
I can't wait.
Quick question before you go, and I know that thank you for taking a few more minutes with us. Someone had asked if I'm going to buy fabric, you're going to buy cotton. Is there anything particular they should look for? Is any cotton okay? Should they try to find something thicker or thinner as far as how it feels on their hand? Any suggestions for them?
Yeah, quilting cotton is always the safest bet. And then I try to like stick with just quilting cotton, and that way like you're not mixing like different types of fabrics like knits and definitely I do not advise quilting with knits, especially like if you're a first time quilter or you're fairly new to it. But yes, quilting cotton, no non-woven, is the safest to go for this. So yeah. But have fun shopping. Like there's so many like great online stores with quilting cottons and whatnot. And you could always ask, like, depending like if it's a small business owner, like, and I do suggest that go support small. But anyway, yeah, you can always ask them for suggestions on like their which colors would pair well and whatnot, because they are most familiar with the stock. So, and they're generally really helpful. But yeah.
That's wonderful. Wendy, very exciting. And your little one didn't wake up. Otherwise, we'd have even full entertainment.
We're all good. Let's hope that he does that next week on next Tuesday. So
yeah. So mark your calendar. Tuesday at noon, Wendy's coming back on to do part 2. If you got questions in the meantime, drop them in the chat. And I will be posting the announcement for that show. I'll probably do it later today. So if you have questions in advance, you can drop them in advance too. So much fun. So why don't we and then with showing the built-in quilt stitching on the Avenir. So Wendy, great to see you. I can't wait till Tuesday.
Yeah. All right. See you, everyone. It was so much fun hanging out with y'all.
Very fun. Bye now.